Good morning, everybody. You're tuned to Computers 2K now on the Nissan Communications Network. I'm Anman, your host for the next hour or so, along with Katie.
Good morning.
Good morning. And Spence is here,
I am here.
and Gal is here.
Not really. He's not really
Yeah,
here.
you are.
Just
And Nick is here.
Good morning.
So it's a full house.
Yes, full house indeed.
Yep.
I won't be here next week though, just to kind of put a damper on that right away.
Oh. Our number is 561 518 9773. And today's show is made possible by vMix Software and is sponsored by Tom Sinclair of Live Streaming Gear. Yeah, next Sunday is my birthday, actually.
Oh wow!
Yep.
Happy birthday.
So do you want to do a show?
Oh yeah,
Oh, I don't know.
that's no excuse.
Yeah, I mean it could be. Could be a
Nah,
very
nah.
reasonable excuse.
In honor of your birthday, I won't be here on Sunday. No, I'm just kidding.
What a jerk!
Anyhow, so what's happening?
well, this
Yeah, you got
Sunday is my anniversary on the show.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
2 years.
Congrats.
It's been almost a year. That's incredible.
So to be precise, for some reason I keep track.
Is that what we call OCD or ADHD or what?
No,
one
I
of
just
those?
put it. At
ADHD.
one point I put it on the calendar. So started in 2018, June
Damn.
3rd,
Wow.
2018. That was the first show. A long time ago.
I wonder when my first show was.
Every time I come up with the anniversary, the discussion is exactly the same. So I'm guessing if we'll go to last year's show, we'll find where the
I don't think I
discussion
would-
went.
Yeah, it's got to
I
be.
think it's
I'm not 2014 or 2014 maybe for me. I don't know. And Spence is what back on the radio, right?
1997.
Yeah, there you go.
Whoa.
It's a great year.
I thought, Nick, I thought you started like in the earlier in 2000.
May have been 13 or 12. I don't remember.
You were 6.
Yeah, I mean honestly, it wasn't too far away.
There was a
from it.
little kid. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm still a little kid and just have some
Well.
more responsibilities now. It sucks.
So just to be clear, you were groomed for this.
Yeah, absolutely. People ask me like, "Oh, how'd you make it to North Carolina?" I'm like, "Boy, do I have a really weird
So
story
you're-
for you."
Your,
Oh,
par-
don't say that.
your parents aren't really your parents. They were the groomers that were assigned to you.
Precisely.
Oh, this is weird. Let's change the subject.
You
This is
were,
getting
you
weird.
were Brave New World hatched in a assembly line.
Yeah.
Uh,
So you were asking what I was up to this
yes.
week,
So
and I'm on a fresh new install of Windows.
7.
No, Windows 11,
Oh.
surprisingly enough. Yeah, it was bugging up, acting weird at intervals, and I said, this needs to be fresh. I'm about to play with a new server that I'm getting, so I wanted the machine I'm working on to be smoother, and I didn't want to replace it yet. It's an old machine, but it works and it does what I need, and
Mhm.
I don't really want to spend another $1,000 on another machine. So reinstalled Windows, and before I did that, I said I want to keep the existing system so I can boot back to it. So I was looking into how do I multi-boot, right? Create a menu at the beginning where I can choose whether I boot to the old system or the new system, and how do I make it easy to then transition away from the old system once it's ready, and maybe introduce another system if I need it. And apparently, since Windows 10, the boot system, which is UEFI based, the boot system can boot directly from a virtual hard drive, which is just a file on the file system. So that was very interesting because it makes all of the work on the on setting up a file system properly, the partitioning, all of that, it just it needs to happen inside the virtual disk, but then it means I can replace that virtual disk very, very easily. It's just pointing to another file name and that's it. So managing it makes it a lot easier. And also, if I want to just for a short while have an alternative OS where I want to try something, but I don't want to try it in a VM because a VM would be constricted um, by what I can run. It's not an actual machine. Uh, all I need to do is just copy the file, right? If I make sure that the OS file is not too large, the OS drive is just a small enough file, like I don't know, 60 gigabytes, then all I need to do is just copy it, and I can set up the boot entry, and I can boot to a new machine. So this is what I'm dealing with right now. I'm setting up that base image with some minimal tools that will be on any machine anyway, and I know there will be any on any machine anyway because this is day 3 of this system, and this is what I have on it, and that's pretty much what I'll need from the get go on every other system. Using all of the installer tools, all of the uninstaller tools, making sure that um, some basic operational value is there, and then I'll clone that, which is just create uh, a VHDX, a virtual hard drive file, and then just set that as my permanent boot. And then when I need, I'll create another copy of that or another copy of that. So yeah, it's an interesting operation concept, and I think if this works out, this is how I'm going to work with Windows from this point forward.
It makes sense.
Yes, it makes a lot more sense. I really like it. There is a price, right? The price is there is another layer here that that is created between the OS and the hard drive, but because I'm running on an NVMe, then that price is negligible in terms of performance for what I'm looking. Look, if I needed to squeeze every bit of performance out of this machine, then probably I wouldn't have run this machine. I would buy a new one. Uh, but because performance is second to operational value here, this makes total sense to me. So
Mhm.
If you were trying to edit, video off of a NAS or something like that, probably not the use case because you would probably be dealing with some additional bottlenecking because of that extra layer that you've added would be my guess.
you know what? I'm not so sure because the bottleneck would be the NAS mount anyway. So the bandwidth to the NVMe is still um, not a heavy one. There's not a huge memory price to this. There's not a huge CPU price to it. It's just there's the CPU price is probably less than 1%. So I'm okay with that. I'll be editing videos on this for sure. I'll be running games on this for sure. Uh, it just makes and remember, I can always make sure that whatever I need to run that's not the OS can be on the actual hard drive without any virtualization. It's just the OS layer. I am keeping that virtualized. That's the unique aspect of this. And because it is virtualized, it also means it's very easy to copy. I don't need any imaging software or anything, right? I can literally just copy that file. Or better yet, I wonder if it's possible, but I'll try using Windows it's called shadow copy service, right? Which will allow me to take snapshots of it and revert back. Like if that's possible, then hell yeah, then that's the way it should. It's I can't have ZFS as the file system, right, for Windows, but maybe I can have something similar in its feature set that will allow me to go back and and fix a broken system really really easy.
Hmm. That's what you say.
Uh, we'll see.
Yeah. All
when
right.
we speak next year about my anniversary again, then we can
We'll
remember
talk about
this.
this.
Oh, those were the good years.
For the Apple people, according to Bloomberg, this year's iOS update won't be called iOS 19. Instead, Apple is planning to call it iOS 26 as part of a new year-based naming strategy. The new naming scheme will apply to all of Apple's software platforms.
I'm
So,
I'm
so
okay with
going
it.
going back to try to talk about a prior version, you're going to have to make that skip from.
Yeah.
I mean, this is, I don't know how many people remember this, but this is how the name of the show was before 2000. It was
Yes.
like Computers 96, Computers 97, Computers 98.
Yep.
And then we said, this is ridiculous. I mean, it's
Keep changing the logo.
so at 2000, we said Computers 2K now.
We'll change it when we hit
computers
the year
to-
3000.
Well, yeah,
Computers to know.
computers to know.
Yep.
Yep.
I still
So
have those graphics.
I'm sure they're somewhere on a computer. Yeah.
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 Which computer?
The one I'm using. I mean, the one I'm using was used. I mean, the drive has been updated ever since Windows XP. Just been updated and updated, but the files, and even if I did a fresh install at any time, I have a folder that has everything that I put in a folder called temp. And underneath it is all the stuff, the text files and images.
The
So,
folder name is called temp.
yep.
You
It's
know how
danger-
many
that's
times
dangerous.
I deleted temp on purpose?
Is there a temp?
Of course, see Windows temp and your temporary. There's always a temporary directory, so it's a
Even-
bad name.
Even Adobe makes temp files when you're working on graphics.
Yeah, but does it put it in a folder called
Yeah.
C:\temp? No.
Well,
I mean, they're probably
C
under
colon
Windows.
/ temp. Yes.
Yeah, that's
That was
exactly
the
what it's
original
called.
temp directory.
I'm not. You're playing with fire. It's like
No,
you're
I'm
juggling with
not.
sharp
I'm not.
knives.
No, I'm
telling you,
not.
the
It's been like
moment-
this for years, and it's fine.
Well,
hold on, I
until
think it's
the
a
AI
spelling
gets a
difference.
hold of your machine.
Isn't that the Windows folder is TMP, correct?
No,
Is it
Today-
TMP?
today it's C Windows temp. That's the system temporary folder.
Yeah.
And there's another temporary folder within your user files, your user local.
But there's
app
nothing
data.
just on the root of the C drive.
No, but before that, there used to be.
Oh,
I don't remember that. Anyway, doesn't matter. That's how it is. Oh. Talking about AI here, and I don't know how good this guy is with an Anthropic. So their co-founder and CEO Dario Amodei is warning that AI could eliminate half of the entry-level white-collar jobs within the next 5 years.
5 years is not accurate, but in 20 years, yeah, absolutely, I could see that. I saw that article as well this week. I mean, here's the thing: when you look at when you talk about like a true entry level job, we're talking about like somebody that is in a secretarial position, I guess, or like something of that nature.
Right.
There, I don't think that there's that many of those jobs that exist in that same nature anymore.
Yeah, they're usually called personal assistant or something like that.
But you
But
still
a personal assistant's not going to be replaced by AI, at least
No,
as of yeah.
it can't be
Your
because of
personal
the,
assistant's not running to get you coffee or running
Yeah.
downstairs to hail you
run
a
down
cab
to the
before you're
bakery
ready to
and
go.
run
Yeah.
down to the bakery and get me this bagel.
I mean, I'm just trying to think of how many people are sitting in front of a desk for 40 hours a week, just sitting in front of a desk and doing 40 hours worth of week that is snap of a finger replaced with some sort of AI script. Now, can some of their job be replaced by that? Absolutely. I mean, I can run my voice through an audio AI filter right now, and my job could be replaced tomorrow. I mean, it's not nobody is immune to it. That just seems. I read it. He did a. I think he did a. It was either Fortune or Bloomberg Magazine. He did a big sit down with them this week and talked about it. And I don't know. It seemed kind of tone deaf.
So the problem, I'm actually, when hearing a software developer saying that, it makes some sense in the software world for sure. What the expectation from entry level developers today and entry level support techs, entry level QA developers, uh, that could be covered by probably somewhere between 80 to 90% of what they do daily can be covered by AI that knows what it's doing, right?
Sure.
That is tailored specifically to the project that it's working on and stuff. And I think we are getting closer to there. So here's the thing that I know, like in my bones, that probably in around 2 to 3 years I'll be using for sure when it comes to AI. I won't be remembering command line syntax anymore, because instead of that, at the command line terminal, I will just be conversing with the computer and asking it to analyze the logs files and extract, I don't know, a timestamp from them, and I won't need to know the exact syntax of the tools that it will run in the back end and run for me. I'll probably ask it to show me the syntax, so I'll see that it's doing the job correctly, but it will do that for me. So if I had somebody today to sit in front of the computer for me and me dictate to them how to do their job, I would do that. I would take that if that didn't cost me an arm and a leg, right? I am just an employee after all. I'm employed by someone. I do my work because I really enjoy it and I like digging into problems. Uh, and I have the experience today, right, to do that without even knowing the specifics. So whatever specifics I'll need, I'll 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 find a way to figure them out. But if somebody else can do that for me, I can still keep my job, right, and do it effectively. So I think that's the entry level he's talking about. The problem I see here is, okay, so you eliminate half of the entry level positions. That basically means you're eliminating half of all positions, because everybody needs to start at the entry level somewhere, right? So it's not just about eliminating half of the entry level; it's eliminating half of the workforce.
Yeah,
That's the scary part.
and the same sentence is saying that the overall unemployment potentially spiking between 10 and 20% during that period. So if you're eliminating 50%, half of the entry level, I mean that's more than 10 to
So it's
20%.
so let's be clear. It's half of entry level uh, for any data driven job.
Well,
Okay,
they're mentioning uh, technology, finance, law, and
right.
consulting.
Those who sit in front of a computer most of the day. Okay,
Yeah.
like in terms of that is the way to do the job, because the young person in McDonald's, right? They sit in front of a computer too, but that's not what drives the work. What
Right.
drives the work is prepping the meals, giving them to customer, interacting with the customer, and until robotics takes over there, right? Then that won't happen. And also, I mean, there's an entire social
yeah.
interaction element that needs to be changed as well.
Can I jump in on
Yeah.
this for a second? I think about this. You think 5 years, which is not that. I mean, it's not that long of a period of time.
For data driven, I think.
But
that's
you brought up
plausible.
McDonald's, and I want to jump in with this. They still don't even have, all of these fast food places are rolling out some level of AI agent. Most of them are not operating full time. They're typically running in the overnight hours when you've only got like 2 people or 1 person there that's doing everything. But
Mhm.
I mean, I eat fast food more than I should. And I'm still talking to a human every single time. I pull up to the window and some AI voice comes on and says, would you want to try the XXX, product that we've got? And you say no, and then you just sit there and wait for an actual person
Yeah.
to jump on the microphone. We're not even at the point where that has fully been replaced yet. And so I struggle with the notion that in 5 years, all of these jobs are going to be his direct quote, eviscerated by artificial intelligence. We're not even at the, I mean, Christ, you call a phone, you talk to some phone tree thing, and it can't even parse it correctly.
And
So
you're
Oh,
going
I
to
agree.
see
I
this
agree
is
with you.
this is going to morph into something else.
Right.
That's what's going to happen. Is because there was just a discussion this week because they're trying to what will we do with the money if we take it away from these Ivy League schools where they're getting all these grants and put it into
Trade.
Mike Rowe's apprenticeship program for
Mhm.
trades, saying there are huge shortages of people, plumbers, electricians, all this stuff, welders. And if they create new scholarships for those people, they can't be replaced by AI because you can't walk in and diagnose water running on the floor.
You might be able to diagnose it, but
yeah, but you
somebody
won't be
needs
able
to
to
do the
fix
work.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's going to happen because they're already, the way the tide has changed now is it's like, but you still, my daughter's in accounts receivable, right? Has been for many years doing this job. And there's no way AI could replace her interaction with the customer. Because you know what it's like when you go into an automated attendant, you try to get somewhere in a company, you just can't get there. What you always wind up hitting operator to talk to somebody because it takes you off on a path. And you get so frustrated. There's just no way to get where you want to get. Another alarming thing I saw this week was Zuckerberg come out and said that he thinks that AI would be able to satisfy the need for companionship for people.
yeah, well, he's
For
fucked in the
people
head,
like
so,
Zuckerberg,
I mean,
yes.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
mean, think about what that does for all the people now that are struggling with relationships who can't get that interaction or don't know how to. They're going to rely on AI, and that's going to be
that's already happening.
Oh, I
There's
know it's
already
I know it's
there's
happening.
there's like AI girlfriend apps that you can download on your phone, and it's a
That's
virtual,
exactly what they're talking about. Is that it's
like a virtual character that you build a full on relationship. I listened to a comedy podcast, and one of the guys was like, he's like, I'm gonna do some research on this. So like 3 weeks later, he comes in and he's like, all right, guys, this is what I've done, and he's having this whole conversation with this relationship that he's built with this AI bot over the last, like, it was either 2 or 3 weeks between the episodes, and it was scary, man. Listening to that.
Wait. At the end, he dumps her?
I don't remember how it ended. It was hard to hear. There was so much laughing and so much wheezing over the ridiculous nature of what was going on. But I
So
mean, he'd built a pretty substantial. I mean, and I guess that happens with a regular human. If you spend 4 hours a day with somebody for 3 weeks, you're going to build an incredibly close relationship with them. I mean, whether it's somebody at work or outside of work. And it was kind of made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. It was weird to listen to. It freaked me out.
So the AI, he dumps the AI, and next thing you know, his doorbell starts ringing at night, because the AI breaks into his house and takes over and
Yeah.
starts putting images of the AI standing at the front door. Let me in, let me in.
I think again, I don't disagree with what the Anthropic CEO is saying. I disagree with the timeline. I do not think. I mean, and then there's one other factor of this too, especially in small business. First of all, I mean, you've seen what Microsoft laid off 7% of their workforce earlier this year, some absurd number like that, and it was AI. There's a major tech company here in Wilmington called Encino, NCINO. They're a financial banking software system. They laid off, I think, 12% last week, and they claim, of course, AI and so on and so forth. But I would think about the small business, the plumbing shop or the plumbing repair place that Spence is describing, or the HVAC company.
A bakery.
These AI agents that are going to replace somebody's job, I don't think are going to be cheap. They're not going to be $12 a month subscription to some service. They're going to be very expensive, and they're going to require probably a lot of technological integrations to integrate. Okay, now you need a new phone system because it's got to integrate with the AI agent. You're going to need a new um, uh, project management system to keep track of your service calls and appointments and scheduling. I don't know that small business, that there's anybody there that's even adept enough to make that plunge, to begin that process. Not only is it going to be a huge cost in terms of technological improvements in the company, then you've got to have somebody that knows what the hell they're doing and needs to drive that charge. And that's not the case in 90+% of small business. I mean, is that maybe that number's a little bit too high? But I think if you talk to most small business, there's not somebody there that is going to lead the AI revolution at company X, that has 11 employees. I just don't think it exists. And I think that's
So
a factor of I think maybe the thing is, could those jobs be replaced in 5 years by artificial intelligence? Probably. But will they? I don't think the answer is yes.
what
Somebody's got
about
to somebody's got to do it.
does the AI do alpha and beta testing on itself?
I mean, it will, but
It will.
somebody's going to have to
But
take
no,
the
what I
plunge to
mean,
figure out how to
it's not
start.
real. It's not real world because they don't face any real life customers. So
No, but they could run simulations based off of customers,
Yeah.
probably.
And
so
they
I-
can take feedback and
Yeah.
adjust.
Oh no, I agree. But I mean, it can't be completely unattended. You're going to have somebody overseeing this to see, is this
Right, but
going in the
instead-
direction we needed to go in?
All the guy from Anthropic has said, instead of 10 people, now you'll need 5. That's all. It's still going. That's exactly the thing. It's you will be able to do things smarter, faster. Right. Every person. It doesn't matter their level of experience. They're automatically smarter and faster at what they're doing. That's the key. What I'm interested, like, the analysis might be correct in terms of the speed and the efficiency of crunching the numbers. What's completely missing out here is the burnout rate. It's the human capacity to adjust to these type of environments. So that's the part that we don't know yet how it will go. Like, the human reaction, we already know, right? There's a huge pushback when it comes for us humans to interact with an automaton that answers us, right? We hate that. It doesn't. It, like, for me, when I get a bot answering, right, my blood boils because I know it's not going to help me and it's just wasting my time, right? I know that what I need, the reason I even called is because I can't solve it through the website. If I can't solve it through the website, then there's no bot on earth that will help me do it on the phone. So I need a person, and I want to get to that person as fast as possible. And so this particular path, those needs to change, right? And they will, and eventually we'll get there. But the 5 year for 50%, that might that might be accurate in terms of all of the data jobs where there's no the human interaction afterwards is with an employee, right? With somebody internal that's trained to work with that system. That system is tailored for them. That'll work. All of the stuff that is tailored to interact with the public, those who are untrained, those who just want, need some help, uh, and they don't really care about how the system works behind the scenes, that will take more time, but it'll get there eventually.
So, so the question is, how many of the job that you're describing, Gal, that you're literally sitting at a desk for 40 hours a week, screwing around with data on a screen? How many of those jobs exist solely where your job is nothing more than that? Your job responsibility is simply that for 40 hours a week. I can't imagine it's that many jobs.
Well, the people on severance, that's what it is.
Oh, that is true.
Yeah.
I wonder. Obviously, there's a
you'll be
lot of that work
surprised.
that goes on, but is that solely what they do for 40 hours a week, or is that a big
Okay,
portion of their
so-
job? And that's kind of where I'm at over. So instead of doing 40% of their time sitting in front of the computer doing this task that can be replaced by AI and 60% doing something else, now they're doing 60% something else and 20% of this and 20% of that. There's no job that went away at all. This person is now just doing different tasks within an organization because he talks about that 20% unemployment. That's the real eye-popping
Right,
number
but
out
think
of all
about
of
it.
this.
But think about it. The moment you are doing right more throughout the day because some computer is doing some part of the job that would have taken you, I don't know, 3-4 hours a day, and now it just takes 20 minutes, right? Then you need less people, or you can pay them less or whatever, right? Like whatever the math is, you need less people in order to operate the same level you've done before.
Sure.
So you either accelerate, and you're right that in some companies it'll just be acceleration and they'll do more business and they'll hire more, but the competition will die, right? It's like so. Think about Amazon, okay? The reason Amazon is hurting local business, right? And it is hurting local business. I mean, let's be clear, right? It's because they have perfected a model where the cost of operation, the efficiency, right? Everything has been uh, so tightly integrated into a system where the alternative would be the less efficient brick and mortar mom and pop shops, right? Where there's a lot of waste, there's a lot of bureaucracy, there's a lot of processes that now Amazon just deals with it in like gives it 2% of its effort instead of 30% of its effort. And that is exactly what I think Anthropic is saying here, right? He's saying everything will be reduced, compressed. The immediate effect will be unemployment because it takes time for the market to figure out, right, what to do with change. And maybe eventually it'll taper out and there'll be more work for people or more free time that will be subsidized somehow. I don't know, right? We do know the human experience and the human experiment has shown us, right, that every change is first seen as an apocalypse, then it is embraced, and then we're facing the next apocalypse, right? So it'll morph to something different.
Two things. Think about, and you guys, some of you aren't old enough to remember this. Back in the 1970s, there was a
Nope.
huge so there was a huge pushback in small towns to Walmart moving in nearby.
Right.
Because what did it do? It destroyed the whole downtown shopping district of mom and pops. Gone.
Yep.
I mean, that was how many years ago? It's 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. It's just different now. But
Right.
Let me ask you this though, and this
look, and it did change the fabric of those towns completely.
yes.
And they have changed.
Some for the better and some for the worse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
this is a question for Amnon and Spence, because to the point that Gal is making, when either, I guess it would have originally been mainframes and then personal computers, when those made their way into offices across America through the late 70s and through the 80s, and by the 90s it was pretty much done. I mean, that was a thing. Was there a huge bump in unemployment because people that, you hadn't no there was no reason to have a copy room anymore with 30 women that would sit on typewriters and copy the same memo over and over again. I don't know that I don't know that unemployment skyrocketed during that time as like what's being described here. I don't think it did.
Yes, but
I
you're
think the
missing.
I think the unemployment issues came not from external forces. It was not necessarily the introduction of the computer. It was the destruction of industry that did it.
Mhm.
So you saw people that were working in factories where those were moved offshore, and that was the big problem with unemployment. Not, and then they were told you need to be trained to work with computers as an alternative to your job.
Sure.
there's
Yeah, just
another
like now they
aspect.
say you need to be trained to work with AI.
Yes, but there's another aspect. The workforce that got hit the most, right, was the same group of people where feminism was fighting for emancipation. The workforce that got hit the most by that are secretaries, are office workers, uh, computers, to remind you, were ladies who were trained in math, right? And the reason it was ladies, it because it was the cheaper workforce. So if you look at that, right, it's it's a mixed bag, because the amount of women that were actually working at that time, those entry level jobs, right? It was given to women who, by definition, the length of employment would be limited, because at one time or another they'll marry and bear children and then move out of the workforce. And here was, okay, we got something more efficient because we can do out, right, we can make without this workforce. And
Sure.
so the discussion was led by men, so they didn't care. So now we're in a different situation, because the discussion is led um, by Gen X, right? And those who are going to be hurt are the Gen Zs and Gen Alpha, right? And they, unlike women in the 70s, they actually have a platform, multiple platforms, where this is constantly discussed, constantly talked about. So it's a different set of circumstances socially.
Sure. I mean, there's no argument there's some difference in circumstances, but I would say that, and I'm not an expert in this in exactly this time period, but you had an evolving and adapting workforce during that period of time, and I just wonder what that looks like here as well.
We can
Um,
learn from the past, because look what happened when the catapult was introduced. All the ladder climbers went on strike when they had a siege of a castle. The ladder climbers like, what are we going to do now? The catapult just takes the wall down. We don't have to do it. So they all
and
were out of work.
that's what I'm very curious about. I don't I don't know that it's going to be the apocalypse that some folks are describing and continues to be. And I don't want to use the word fear mongering because I don't necessarily think it's coming from a place of ill intent. But there does appear to be a lot of said fear mongering, and I'm curious how it's all going to end up shaking out. I
It's
don't think it's
interesting
going to
because
be.
the feelings about it are really all over the place. You got it from one side saying AI is going to revolutionize people's lives. It's great. And other people saying it's the end of civilization,
Yeah, it's very
As we know
interesting.
it.
as we know it.
No,
Yeah.
it'll
That's
evolve.
right. Right.
It's
That's
a change
exactly.
for sure. Yeah. I mean, look, let's be realistic. The more we're closer to this, right? The more we're closer to cybernetic implants, because then the computer, the AI that feeds on the information that comes through uh, um, biological inputs, right? It can deal with that amount of data. it can do things better, more focused than what we can. That instead of training our senses to do that, right? And so we'll get there as well. I mean, and let's not. I mean, every conversation like this will eventually go into singularity, where you could upload your entire consciousness, right? Eventually, because the processing power will actually allow it. So it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Everything's going to change, right? That's the point.
I'm
And I think
actually changed my mind about medical advances with AI. No, I won't change my mind. I mean, I've kind of gravitated towards the fact that they're able to diagnose stuff now that
right.
they couldn't before. And robotic surgery has come to the point now where they can do things that the human hand cannot do, which is amazing. So
But
I've
isn't
heard,
robotic surgery has been around for what, 20 years?
but I mean, the fact that that's robotic surgery before was somebody else with a hand, they were manipulating a surgery machine from a
Sure.
remote distance or something like that. Now it can be done where the guy, you just program, what am I going to do? And it just goes off and does it by itself.
What this will so the robotic surgery part, Spence, like think about it. Instead of going to school for 8 years and then doing internship, right? A doctor or the owner of a clinic will actually be similar to the owner of a mechanic shop, right? They'll just be they'll understand enough to know which machine to buy and how to calculate the costs, right? And they'll just manage an office where somebody comes for the operation, right? And you lay down in the machine and somebody presses a bunch of buttons and it does it for you. No longer the degrees will mean less and less and less. They will mean you'll still need that for research. You'll still need that. And even there, right, AI will be assistant. But the fact is that the operation, there won't be any difference between the carpenter and an orthopedic, right? It's like they won't be holding the tools anymore. Something else is
Yeah.
going to activate the tools for them. They'll be able to think, they'll be able to do, but differently.
But I hope that there will still be a reason to keep people up to fresh into the actual physical skill of doing this stuff if something happens where the robotic stuff is not available. For
Yeah,
example,
for
you
sure.
look at when I was flying, GPSs were just coming out, and we still had to go through to the training. You were not allowed to use a GPS for any part of your training
Right.
because you had to learn how to do dead reckoning navigation. So you had to be able to sit down with a chart, calculate all the aspects of your trip, and be able to navigate using radio beacons, which were basically AM radio stations, and use those for directions and to be able to. So after I got my pilot's license, I had a GPS. It was great. It stopped me from flying into Seymour Johnson Airspace one time. I'm like, oh, I think I'm in a bad place. And I turned it on. I wasn't using it. And oh crap, I need to turn and get out of here before they send up an F-14 to find out who I am.
All
But
right.
yeah,
So
I just hope that there are still people around who don't forget about the actual skill. So
you're gonna what is it, Gal? Oh, there's another side to this. Bloomberg editorial board warned last Tuesday that AI has created an untenable situation in higher education where students routinely outsource homework to chatbots while professors struggle to distinguish computer generated work from human writing. The editorial described a cycle where assignments that once required days of research can now be completed in minutes through AI prompts, leaving students who still do their own work looking inferior to peers who rely on technology.
Wow.
But there's another part of this as well. There's also, and I've seen this described. It's like, oh, these poor professors. The
Yeah.
issue you've got is students are doing all of the work via AI, and professors are using AI to do all the grading. I mean, it's at that point, it's a completely you're not learning anything. It's a completely
Right.
useless education, and that's
Absolutely.
exactly what's happening right now. Professors are generating the work with AI. Students are doing the work with AI, and then it's being graded by AI. Nobody's doing anything in the process. It's not just the students. I mean, it's the professors and everybody else involved. I mean, and
I- I-
you've already seen I suspect that you'll probably, like, to Spence's earlier point, you'll eventually start to see the crumbling of the four-year institution if this trend continues, because there'll be absolutely no reason to go to college. I mean, you're not nothing is coming of it, literally at all. I saw this a little bit when I went to college, and Katie probably saw some of it as well, but it wasn't anywhere near this level.
Yeah, because I mentioned that before when I heard about school on the internet or online, and I said, well, shoot, you can open the books and when you take a test, and so it's not that hard. And a friend of mine, professor, said, Amnon, it's the fact that you are opening the book and reading and learning, and then you're writing it. Yeah, it helps you. That's why the book is there. And that's how you learn. But I remember something else when Hannah was at school, in grade school. And that's when uh, computers kind of started and printers and stuff. And teachers were actually grading students that had their work typed
Yeah.
on a computer much higher than they would a kid who couldn't afford it and was writing it. And that's not right. It was easier for the teacher to read the printed stuff. So yeah, there are problems here and there as far as it doesn't have to be AI, technology. A lot of people cannot afford technology. I mean, thank God we're living in areas that technology is big.
There are
But there are
still
a lot of
places,
places where they don't have this.
well, having worked in Alaska many, many times,
Yeah.
there are many people who live on the outskirts of towns and cities that have no access,
Yeah.
who come
So,
to the local library to use the computers
yeah.
because that's the only place they can go.
Yeah, I don't understand how libraries are surviving these days. Who goes to library?
Oh,
Oh,
they're still
that's
spending a shit ton of money on them
yeah,
for
I
whatever
know.
reason.
I
Such a
understand.
waste.
All right.
Wait, I use the library all the time. Except I don't go to the library. I use Libby.
I use
Well, you
Libby
see,
all the
that's
time.
that's
Yep.
the thing is that you do everything online.
Yeah, because I like reading on my phone. But a lot of people don't. Drives them crazy.
So let's switch a little bit here.
One other thing, just to quickly mention, you talked about professors and
Yeah.
students and stuff. One of the other interesting things that's going on is we were talking about the workforce before, is resumes. You've got people that are generating resumes on AI, and companies that are just running the resumes through AI to see what the best fit is. I mean, it's
No
it's it's unbelievable how there's like zero human interaction in any of this
interaction. Yeah.
stuff anymore. It's crazy.
Huh? All right. So Texas Governor Greg Abbott signed an online child safety bill, bucking a lobbying push from big tech companies that included a personal phone call from Apple CEO Tim Cook. The measure requires app stores to verify users' ages and secure parental approval before minors can download most apps or make in-app purchases.
Mm-hmm.
The bill drew fire from App Store operators such as Google and Apple, which has argued that the legislation threatens the privacy of all users. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with that.
No, they're just going to have to do a bunch of work that they don't want to have to do.
Right. But
To hell with
it,
them.
it's the way.
I'm serious. To hell with them. If they don't want to do the work, then shut down your app store. Get out of
Yeah.
business. It's not. There's similar legislation, by the way, in North Carolina. Maybe I mentioned this last week or a couple of weeks ago. There's a bill right now that's going through the General Assembly that would require, if I believe the age is either it's 14 or 13 or something like
Mhm.
that, for creating accounts on social media. And if you're found, if your service, right, if you're Facebook or Google or Facebook or Twitter or whatever, and people are getting past that verification, they're held criminally or not criminally, but financially responsible. You as a parent can sue the company for up to $10,000, and the state will fine you $50,000 per occurrence
Yeah, you
Wow.
said that.
here
Yeah.
in North Carolina. I mean, it's a serious, it's a
Right.
very very serious penalty, and it's going to come down to a weird situation where you're going to have to verify your ID with social security numbers and driver's license numbers, which gives me some huge privacy concerns. Fortunately, there's um Gal's probably familiar with the service. What's it called? ID Me or something like that. There's already kind of a major third party that many companies use to verify your identification.
Yeah,
You
it's a
identify it on ID
Including
Me,
the
and then you
government.
just
it's a
log in.
clearing
Yeah,
it's a clearinghouse for
yeah. Which that's fine because it's one company that's got the data, and it's just an API check of, is this person who they say they are. I mean, it's even happening now. What was the we talked about this probably a year ago when it went into effect. Pornography in many states, including North Carolina, now has a what's it, like 21, I guess, the ID age verification to view that, and there's probably at this point maybe 20 states that have gone through that process. Um, and so it's very interesting to see that these companies are going to have to find a way to truly verify who the people are that are using their services. And they don't want to do it because it's going to be real expensive. That's the issue.
they'll
Well,
pass it on in some way.
I mean, they can try to
Uh,
pass it
Figure out
on.
a
I
way.
mean, yeah. I mean, I'll tell you what, the 50 these fines from some of these states are excessive. $50,000 per occurrence is a crap ton of money.
That is a
Um,
lot of money.
so that's gonna be very interesting to watch.
okay.
I remember back in
Sure.
the old days when I just used to lie about my age creating accounts. That was great. No more. Those days are long gone at this point.
I have a quick question
Oh,
to ask everybody before we go.
no,
Does
we're not going.
anybody watch Severance?
No, I haven't started it yet, but it's on my list.
Oh, okay. Then what I want to tell you won't make any difference.
Okay. Sorry.
Except that I went to see the new Mission Impossible movie.
Okay.
Excellent movie, by the way. Almost 3 hours.
The previous one was excellent. The first
Oh,
half.
this
But
is great. It's
okay.
very satisfying. But there's a character in Severance.
I don't think you should talk about for anybody that it may be
No, it's
a.
not a
No,
it's
no,
not a
he's talking
giveaway. It's
about an
just
actor.
you'll see a character that's in Severance appear in the movie, not the character, but the actor.
Oh,
And everybody, when they see him, go, "Oh," everybody reacted because they said, "Oh, cool, he's from Severance."
I didn't.
So
I
it was
didn't
nice.
keep that article, but I read an article that I can't remember where it was in Japan or somewhere. They actually took a website and I mean the state sued a website that was giving away the like spoiler alerts about all kind of shows and got it in big trouble. Anyway, a lack of action by big firms is enabling the industrial scale theft of premium video services, especially live sport. A new report says the research by Enders Analysis accuses Amazon, Google, Meta, and Microsoft of ambivalence and inertia over a problem it says costs broadcasters revenue and puts users at an increased risk of cybercrime.
Ooh.
Garrett-
I interject? May I interject?
Well,
What about the exuberance
prices.
amount they are charging for something that nobody's willing to pay?
I'll shut up and
Well-
eat your $300 cable bill. All right, shut your damn mouth and pay your $300 a month cable bill. All right, I've heard enough of you this morning. Enough.
Remember, we are talking about entertainment.
Let's finish this. Gareth Sutcliffe and Ollie Mayer, who authored the research, described the Amazon Fire Stick, which they argue is the device many people use to access illegal streams, as a piracy enabler. The
Ask yourself
device plugs
why.
into TVs and gives the viewer thousands of options to watch programs from legitimate services, including the BBC iPlayer and Netflix.
Please tell me that Amazon funded this article.
They're also being used to access illegal streams, particularly
Whoa.
on live sports.
This
Oh.
is like a commercial for hey, I
Buy a
haven't
cracked
what-
Amazon
what is,
stick.
What is that? What is that Amazon stick? Have you heard about this?
I mean,
You know what's actually
These-
crazy? I see these a lot on Facebook Marketplace. Like, look, I do a lot of, I spend way more time than I should browsing stuff on Facebook Marketplace. And multiple times a week, I'm seeing listings for cracked, locally cracked Amazon Fire Sticks. People are selling them for, I don't know what's a stick, 50
Like-
bucks. That's what they call them, cracked. And I think
Yeah,
they'll,
because
they'll
the
charge you
APK
$100 for it.
The APK you can't get through the store is already installed or something like that. Yeah.
That's well that and you know what, it's a great business model. I mean, for
Yeah.
these guys that are doing this, you've got non-technical people that could never figure this out
For sure.
that are they install a couple of APKs and there you go, you've got your cracked
I mean,
Amazon stick.
don't you remember there was a huge marketplace for Cody boxes? Remember?
Yeah,
Yep.
Cody box
Yeah,
back in
yeah.
the day.
Yeah.
They got removed from the market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Cody kind of died out.
Yeah.
So the bit I talked about, I heard a comedian talking about having his grandfather come to see a show of his, right? Like they invited the entire family, and his grandfather was there, and he says his grandfather just recently got a computer, like a couple of years before, and he's still locked in to what he can get from Google and YouTube, and that's what he knows, right? And the comedian goes on a bit and mentions Pornhub. And during the show, the grandfather takes out his black notebook, paper notebook, and writes down Pornhub and says, and he says, I need to check that out. So this article is exactly that. It's like, oh, what is that Amazon Fire Stick that can
We
give
need
me
to
access
find out, yeah.
everything? Yeah, I need to find out more.
I'm surprised that that's continued to grow at the level that it has. I haven't used one of those in years. My biggest issue with them was the UI was impossible to use. I mean, literally, you're like, there's a million channels. There's no way to search, and it's just an alphabetized list starting with A of channels. And it just I
Talking
found
about
the
Cody?
I don't remember if it was Cody or one of the cracked Amazon sticks. Honest to God, I don't remember. But I thought of it myself. I found it so frustrating to use, and I wondered, how is the general public using something like this that has got such a what I would describe as a barrier to entry because it was so, these are people that are used to sitting down with a DVR remote and typing in channel 1112. How are those folks transitioning from that to alphabetized list, no search? Half the channels don't work because they're not like, these are all pirated streams. I'm surprised that it's still rising at that level. Maybe they've made significant improvements. I don't know. I haven't used it.
First of all, there are improvements. I mean, today you can get these systems. You need to be technical to get to that point, but you can get the systems to display literally the electronic
guide?
guide and you can flip through channels very, very similarly. It needs setup, right? The hard part is the setup part, which you and I are okay with going into a web page and reading a bunch of instructions that are not totally accurate, but still get through the process. And so that's why there is a marketplace for, okay, i can I can get it to work for you the way you want to, right? One thing that marketplace needs to deal with is good customer service, right? Because once you give somebody, even if it's for payment, once you give something like this to somebody, you do you care that they can actually operate it or not, right? That's where things change. But yeah, I mean, today it is correct that these companies through inaction are definitely helping this be a thing. Uh, but I think chasing this as this is the criminal element, that's where we need to call the king is the king has no clothes, right? Because it's uh, the amount of money that is charged today for this stuff compared to the value that you get out of it, it's the proportion are off, are way off.
I,
Uh,
I've got a bigger question about these so-called pirated stuff
All right.
in that article when they say that those researchers, quote unquote, says the device plugs into TVs and gives the viewer thousands of options to watch programs from legitimate services, including the BBC, iPlayer, and Netflix. I mean, I have never heard about anybody breaking into Netflix, but Roku, I mean, Plex has the same, is in the same boat.
But Plex doesn't provide the ability to do it. Plex just provides the ability to watch it. Very different. If if I showed
Plex,
up to your house
Ple-
today with with a blank Plex install,
yeah,
you're not going to be able to do anything.
no, but I
well,
mean, wait,
view the free stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm wondering if these guys actually just looked at briefly at what comes up with the stick, with the Amazon stick, and so Netflix. Oh boy! I mean, all it is just like a link
Yeah, it's
to.
hurting broadcasters. So fucking what? Right? That's the
No,
point.
I
I
don't
think the
see
point
that it's hurting anybody. It's helping
the
Netflix.
what I think Amnon, I think what they're saying is that on these IPTV services that come on the cracked boxes, you're able to watch that Netflix content without logging in. I believe that's what they're
I
describing. It's
well,
it's poorly worded based on how you're reading it.
yeah. Well, I can tell you
Uh,
one thing. This week, I was taking breaks because I was cleaning up and throwing away stuff, so I was able to come and sit down. And I've never looked at that part of Plex. Up at the top, it has Plex channels.
mhm.
You
A lot of
can't
good
go.
stuff in there.
You can. I mean, I started looking to see, not watching, just looking at the list. I couldn't finish it.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there.
There's all kind of channels.
It's all this. I mean, you've pretty much got all of the same shit is offered on Plex, Vizio Smart TV,
Yeah,
Samsung, LG. I mean, it's the same free to air channels that everybody offers. And I'll
right.
tell you what, man, there's for background TV, there's a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of good stuff on there.
Absolutely.
It's the equivalent of the $2 DVD basket in Walmart, right?
Yeah.
It's like the content that gets very, very little attention.
There's a great channel. I was down in Myrtle Beach a couple weeks ago, and I was at a place where they had their own local cable service. So like you're flipping through the channels, but they're all it's it was at a resort, so it was an internal cable system. So the channel numbers don't mean anything, but so you're flipping through, And as I was flipping through, I got into the streaming TV channels, which on Samsung, interestingly enough, have channel numbers, which is a brilliant idea. So you can memorize these channels. I mean, they go high, they're going to the thousands. Um, and I spent like an hour and a half watching some like history channel. Like there was like a World War II history channel, free OTA channel. And it was great. No commercials. It was just,
Yeah.
you could see where the commercials were supposed to be, and then it would just roll back right into the show. There's a lot of good stuff on there. Again, but it's no live sports. That's what it all comes
Right.
down to.
That's
The
what
only reason that you're paying for a cable subscription is for live sports for the most part. Everything else is pretty much available somewhere else.
yeah.
Even the main shows. I mean, if you watch anything on CBS, you'll see that, oh, tonight, whatever show and streaming on Paramount. And then you turn over to ABC and oh, this flagship show and streaming on Hulu. And then you go to NBC and it's our flagship show also streaming on Peacock. I mean, for any of that stuff, you don't even need cable. It's just the sports, which
yeah.
ESPN, I don't know if we can talk about this in the next couple of weeks. ESPN is rolling out their real first ever streaming service that provides everything, um, which is going to be kind of
But
interesting to
it's
watch.
going to be a pay for.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's going to be paid for, but it is to me, it's one of the first, it's the first actual attempt to provide, um, live sports, just streaming, which is very hard to do now. It's $30 a month, which is not cheap, but it's $30 a month, and it gets you access to all of the ESPN channel, the actual ESPN channels, and all of the live sporting, which is interesting.
See,
And
I
that's a
still
big deal
can't.
because ESPN makes all of their money. They charge some egregious number, $5, $8 per subscriber to cable systems. I mean, they make billions of dollars off of cable, whether people watch or not.
I watch sports streams and I can't buy legit stuff because they have blackouts to the local channels. So if
Yep.
I wanted to watch, depending on what rights are sold to certain game days, I have to have like 2 or 3 different streaming channels. So I end up just sailing away on the pirate streams. It's so hard to watch legal local sports.
Oh,
That's the actual point, I think, right? Like that is what drives piracy. People don't really want to steal it, right? They don't really care if they can get it for a reasonable fee, right? And for it to be consistent. But if I am paying for something, right? And now I need to go through hoops in order to, hey, I paid already. Why do I need to go through hoops to see what I wanted to the reason I paid for it in the first place? And that is what drives piracy. Piracy will be there all the time to fill up a gap, right? That the traditional structure of business is failing. Because let's be clear, nothing has been stolen, but uh, 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 let's call it uh, pride. It's not exactly pride, but the rights, right? The content itself isn't stolen. It's been produced already. It's been aired already. It is being copied. There is more of it, and you can't money grab whatever is spilling over. So basically, it means their bucket is pretty full and it's overflowing all the time. And they are worried about the drops that are going over the bucket and somebody else is picking up and selling.
And
And
I was going to say, I mean, we've talked about this 1,000 times, but there is a real modern example of piracy that has essentially stopped, and it's Spotify. I mean, music piracy
exactly.
essentially doesn't exist anymore because it's not worth it pirating the music when you can pay. Well, it's more expensive now, but it used to be $8 a month to stream everything you wanted. Now it's like 14, but it's
Now,
just not worth dealing with.
exactly. Let's be clear. Music piracy still exists. There are those, right? One who can't buy Spotify for some reason. They live in a region of on Earth that Spotify doesn't serve, for example,
Sure.
okay, or they do not help. They live in a situation where they do not own a credit card and are unable to buy gift cards. So there definitely is a market, but it's so small. It is of
Compared to what
no
it
interest.
was.
Exactly, it's of no interest anymore.
Yeah.
There's no chasing it because there's no money in chasing it. Even the lawyers can't make money chasing it, right? So that's the thing is, this is a made up situation in the first place, and piracy is basically the flashlight, right? Showing, look, there's some sort of absurdity going here. We can make money out of it until this gets sorted out, right? And we're in that in between. It's not sorted out yet. And everybody's trying to blame the pirate, but the pirate is just, I'm just technical enough to know where the spillage is, and I can figure out how to sell that onwards. But that's about it. Most of the time, it's people who aren't even selling it. It's more of like, I got it first. So
All right, guys, we need to finish the show here.
Arg. Okay.
Anything anybody else wants to add real quick?
Safe sailing.
All right. Well, thanks, Nick. Thanks, Spence. Thank you, Katie, Gal. And good morning, Kathy, Hannah, Nabil, Mac, Norm, Donna, Dina, Mati, Eleanor, Sarid, Yaakov, and Yael. Thanks, everybody, for tuning to Computers 2K Now. We hope you enjoyed them, maybe learn something from our time together. Remember to practice safe computing. Back up your hard drive and update your virus scanner. And remember to change any same password wherever you change it, wherever you use it. We'll be back here next Sunday at 9, but you can always reach us at computers2know.com. Monday through Friday, 5 to 6 a.m., Nick hosts the Carolina News Hour, Carolina Journal News Hour on WBT 1110 a.m. and 99.3 FM and on YouTube. Just go to the search for the Carolina Journal News Hour and get the details. And Nick does the Nick Craig Show every morning, weekday morning, between 7 and 8. Just go to nickcraig.com and get the information. And Nick and Brian host the Infection Podcast on Twitch for gaming, survival games, etc. Just go to infectionpodcast.com and get the details. We'll see you back next week.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com and DeltaForce.net.